Welcome back. You're still watching SABC News' live coverage from NROC, the National, Results and Operations Center right here in the IEC in Pretoria. We are now going to speak to the ruling party basically and find out their views and exactly how they've seen these elections go through. We know that there's a couple of issues. A lot of people still questioning why Gauteng, for example, is not through. But overall, I'm going to speak to Babu Jackson Tembo as well as Bamelusi Kikaba on their reaction so far on the elections. Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the show. Babu Kikaba, let me start with you. Campaigning was thick, hard and fast throughout. We're looking at the boards right now. 10,343,000 votes have come in. What is it like as far as you and campaign was concerned, if you look at those numbers?
I think the numbers reaffirm the resounding confidence that South Africans have in the ANC. We are very humbled about that. We want to thank South Africans for giving the ANC their resounding vote. We would like to thank our volunteers who labored under difficult conditions, who surmounted many obstacles to deliver this resounding victory for the ANC. This victory belongs to them, the members of the ANC everywhere. But we also would like to thank South Africans who participated in the voting throughout the country. Many of them stood in long queues, many of them stood in queues at the voting stations which ran out of ballot papers, but they just stood there patiently and waited for these to be fixed. The IEC has done an excellent job. I think this is a great reaffirmation of South Africa's democracy. South Africans are confident of the institution they have built, and for that we are very grateful. But for us now, it's hard work ahead. We know exactly what we need to do. We are going to hit the ground running to respond to the issues that the people have raised and the reasons why they have voted for the ANC.
We heard a couple of questions from viewers at home sitting there saying they're voting this way and that way, and within 100 days they would like to see their votes work for them. What are some of the challenges, firstly, that you face coming into this election, and how do you answer them in terms of saying, we heard your voice, we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 for you?
You know, the biggest challenges relate to basic services, the provision of basic services in many communities. Obviously, we need to continue building the capacity of the state to strengthen municipalities in particular in terms of professional skills at the level of public servants for them to deliver on the mandate of ordinary South Africans and deliver basic services. But there are issues that were very preeminent in the campaign. The question of jobs, the question of ensuring an inclusive growth in the economy, the question of land reform, of education, health, fighting crime and corruption. These are the 5 issues that the ANC is going to focus on. So soon after the elections, we go into the Lekgotla of the National Executive Committee of the ANC, followed by that of the new cabinet once the new president has been elected and sworn in and the cabinet established, and from then onwards it's work all the way.
Umam said this was tough going to these elections. Somehow I'm not going to say we were caught unprepared, but she did concede that it was really tough at these elections. Going back and looking back from where the previous elections, was it really that tough? Was it that hard?
Well, it was a difficult election in large measure because we were fighting all sorts of issues. But we knew that we have volunteers on the ground. The biggest strength of the ANC is just the sheer strength and volume of its volunteers on the ground who are able to reach every household to take the ANC message. You know, we had to contend with very negative media in the country, the opposition united in portraying South Africa negatively and communicating a pessimistic message, but we knew that we were going to turn that around. I think the 1994 elections were equally difficult because in areas like Gauteng and KZN and parts of Mpumalanga, we were contending with violence, much more violence than we even saw this time around. There were municipalities which were this time around embroiled in violent service delivery riots, not even protests. But come the time for elections, they calmed down, they went to vote, and so I think that yes, they were very difficult elections, but they tested the machinery of the ANC. Even the leader of the DA conceded that once the machinery of the ANC hits the ground, it becomes an awesome marvel to watch.
observe.
And I think that our volunteers did exactly that. Every man and woman in South Africa who was a volunteer of the ANC, hats off to you, big up to you. This victory belongs to you. You've done this.
Let me get Bob Jackson Mtembu's views on this. Bob Mtembu, we look at the numbers, we've seen them.
Yep.
We know them, they're still trickling in. The big issue, sticky issue right now, a lot of people are asking, the Gauteng region, that's still to be decided, so to speak.
But everybody knows that Gauteng is the most populous region in the country. Therefore, it will be the last region to be put here on the screens. So we are not unduly concerned. We know that those votes are coming, but you also know that we are governing the Johannesburg city, we are governing the Tshwane city, we are governing the Ekurhuleni city. Therefore, when these votes come in, the 10 million that you see there will shoot up.
Here's a question. We're looking at that now. We're looking at this percentage as well, as you can see in front of me, 62.5. Obviously, we're still not calling it because votes are still coming in.
Yeah.
Are we confident of that majority that we're speaking of, and as far as the ruling party wants?
By the way, where we are sitting now, we have an overwhelming majority where we sit now. So whatever that will come in will be additional to what we have. And indeed, we are still confident that we will get this overwhelming mandate from our people. And they have started doing so. We are sitting with an overwhelming mandate now with the votes that have been declared. The few votes, about 5% that are still remaining, will still increase that overwhelming majority. So we're very humbled again.
Another question, there's already talk, well, within our analysts, within our people on the ground, that we're looking at maybe a second DP within the ANC. Take us through that.
By the way, those are decisions that are taken by it's a prerogative of the president of how he wants his cabinet to look like and what characters that cabinet should have. I think he'll be the best person to answer that question immediately after he's sworn into office.
I know you're going to put it at the president's office. Is it possible? Is it viable? Let me put it that way.
No. I wouldn't like to be hypothetical. In fact, we don't answer hypothetical questions. We think there is a president. When sworn in, he will be able to then take all of us into confidence. How does his cabinet look like? And what are the characters of his cabinet? Can we leave it there?
After all has been said and done, after all the politics, after all, as Bob Kikaba said, it's a tough fight that you had to go through. Where do we start now? There is no crisis. Is there a crisis? A lot of people saying minus 3.3% down right now in difference from 2009. Is there a crisis within the ruling party, or it's just one of those things?
Where were we in 1994? 62.9. No crisis. This is democracy in action. By the way, in many old democracies, parties get around 40%, 45%. We are sitting at 62% as we speak now. So
they would actually say 50% plus one is an overwhelming majority.
Yes.
And we are at 62% already.
62.51.
62.51, yes. By the end of the elections, when all the votes have been declared, the ANC will be standing at above 63%.
Yes.
And we're very comfortable with that. What we said before the campaign is that we want a resounding victory. We didn't put figures in terms of our targets. Those were foisted on us, pushed down our throats. We kept on pushing back, saying, no, all we want is a resounding victory. And the people of South Africa have reaffirmed their confidence in the ANC. We stand at over 10 million votes. We will be at over 11 million by the time this election is over.
Definitely.
And for that, we are truly grateful to South Africans.
I'm going to put this one, the final question to you, Bob Mtembu.
Yeah.
We're talking leadership because, of course, people want to know at home.
Yeah.
Are we thinking Bob Ramaphosa maybe as somewhere in that DP position?
He is the deputy president of the ANC. Which DP are you talking about?
Of the country.
Again, you see, the putting together of any cabinet in any country is the prerogative of the person who becomes president. So I think he'll be able to eloquently answer this question when he puts together his cabinet.
Thank you very much. This is the well, what can I call it? The victors, so to speak. I'm not calling it yet. As we said, there's still votes coming in. The victors table, as far as these two gentlemen are concerned, they're very happy. 10.357 million votes so far nationally. We're still waiting on a couple of provinces, but it looks like a resounding success or victory for these two gentlemen. I think we take a quick break. Our broadcast right here from NROC continues after a short while. Stay tuned.